Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be breaking down the concept of toxic masculinity. As a bit of a buzzword, toxic masculinity has been seeing a lot of usage since 2013 onward, but what is toxic masculinity? If somebody asked you to define it, could you? If you asked 100 people individually what toxic masculinity is, would you get the same answer or just similar ones? The reason you may not get the same answers across the board is because for most of its current day usage, toxic masculinity has not been defined as a concept academically. What you may not know is that in the 1980s, the term toxic masculinity was created by Shepard Bliss. Shepard used the term toxic masculinity to find an emotionally distant father-son relationship that resulted in these sons growing up with an unrealistic cultural understanding of manhood, and an unnecessary need to constantly prove their manhood. The implication at the time was that boys needed the right kind of masculinity, and that somehow their mothers or community were incapable of giving that to them, and therefore a strong bond with a father was needed. Sherman created this term because of his own militaristic father, who was distant towards him, and noticed the phenomenon in other boys who were in similar situations. He wanted to use the word toxic because he believed that there was a cure for it.
Of course, the idea of a cure or a fix-all solution that can be applied and resolved is a bit ambitious by today's standards, but that isn't the only thing wrong with Sherman's original definition. Manliness, or the idea of masculinity, is taught to a person as they grow up. So masculinity is in part a set of cultural behaviors, attitudes, and morals that male-raised children are expected to learn, also known as male gender roles. And these roles are not taught solely by one person. They are learned through living within a culture, consuming media, and experiencing life with multiple people to display these concepts. I'm sure you can think of a book, TV show, movie, or people within your community that have contributed to your growth as a person. Those people most likely help you to socialize to your gender roles unintentionally. Sherman's initial definition also left no room for single parents, gay parents, grandparents, or anything outside of the nuclear family. It was his thought that only the father was responsible for instilling this healthy masculinity. The initial thought that it only took one specific man to teach a child about their masculinity is just wrong. So if that's the original definition, where do we go from here? What happened?
Currently, the term toxic masculinity has been used as a shorthand to explain the homophobic and sexist behaviors exhibited by men against women, people of color, and other minorities in both the physical and non-physical sense. Toxic masculinity has often been confused for a hegemonic masculinity, but it's an important distinction to make. Hegemonic masculinity refers to the dominant form of masculinity that is present in any given culture. The hegemonic masculinity of the Western world is a straight white male who prioritizes financial success, emotional stoicism, violence, is highly sexual, and avoids feminine behaviors, while participating in risky health and sexual behaviors themselves. These ideals are rigidly enforced and rampant in movies, TV shows, and even how boys are raised. It is important to note that hegemonic masculinity is what society thinks a man should be, and should not be understood as the best type of man.
Notice how other masculinities like gay men or emotionally expressive men are not only excluded, but also expressly dismissed. This creates a hierarchy, or the idea that some masculinities are more desirable than others, which doesn't make that much sense. While it is true that there are masculinities that aren't hegemonic, there are only a small group of men that actually fit into that hegemonic mold, and there's no assurance that they enjoy what that means. So, while toxic masculinity is a set of behaviors that is inherently hurtful to others, hegemonic masculinity is more complex than that. And it is not inherently wrong, but we have to think, is it really the best path forward?
Some people say that a healthy masculinity is one that is simply not toxic, but I ask you to challenge that thought. Is the opposite of toxic traits truly what is healthy and encapsulates what a man should be or what masculinity is? By this definition, a healthy masculinity is just someone who is not sexist or homophobic to women, people of color, or other minority groups. Is that truly the best we can do as men? Are we really okay with that? Personally, I think the best path forward is to create a more individual sense of masculine identity, instead of a hegemonic one. And what I mean by that is asking yourself what you think a man should be. If you think a man is someone who is honest, hardworking, caring, and empathetic, that's what you think a man is, and you can work towards maintaining or obtaining those traits. Men to other men, it's about time we learn to respect different definitions of masculinity, instead of trying to push them towards a hegemonic idea of masculinity that they may not even be able to fill. Hegemonic masculinity and the traits of emotional stoicism and risk-taking behavior have been linked to higher levels of depression, loneliness, and suicide among men. It's not a bad thing to like or define yourself by hegemonic ideals of masculinity, but it is important to realize the advantages that you have as a man by displaying these traits, and the potential harm that these traits have on some men.
While it is important that we recognize the effects that toxic masculinity has on men, it's also important that we think about the effects that it has on people that do not identify as men. Think of things like rape culture and victim blaming. Are they a result of this toxicity being allowed to become the norm? If you don't fit into that hegemonic mold, have you had to change your behavior in order to feel safer around those men? Chances are you have, and you've also had those conversations with your friends about safety and sexual assault and how you can protect yourselves from potential attackers. It is very common for people in those vulnerable communities to have those conversations about safety, but if you identify as a man, have you had those conversations with your friends? Have you found ways to make other people feel safer around you?
Since masculinity is partially created by the media we consume, we would like to recommend some shows that we feel have healthy depictions of masculinity within them. The first is Avatar: The Last Airbender, as it explores stories surrounding power, responsibility, growth, understanding, and empathy as characters progress and grow. The character of Iroh is particularly wise and embodies his own personal masculinity based off of humility, strength, wisdom, and empathy. Steven Universe is filled with diverse depictions of masculinity, and the characters realize their privilege and come to terms with some of the common struggles of masculinity, such as expressing emotions and friendship. Finally, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is an extremely lighthearted show that should not be underestimated for its depictions of male police officers, their humanity, and struggles surrounding masculinity.
But the discussion does not stop here. It is important to be critical of these issues and think about how they can affect different types of men. For example, men who have been victims of sexual assault, men with mental health problems, and men who have been victims of intimate partner violence. Toxic masculinity hurts everyone involved, but hegemonic masculinity needs to be reworked. If you like this video, please feel free to give us a like, or leave a comment down below talking about your experiences with hegemonic or toxic masculinity. But please, keep it civil in that comment section. If you want to see any of our other videos featuring a different topic than this one, click any of the links here. And for now, I'll just stay here while you subscribe.